I started with this idea. Surfing gives me a feeling of freedom that I haven't had in a long time. And I let it grow big.
Crack of an egg on the bowl. I'm gonna do it one-handed. Probably.
I had all these grand ideas. I watched all these surfing videos. I watched all these vlogs. And I just ran with it.
All these can be quick cuts.
But there are 3 questions that I had to ask myself to bring it back down to earth. See, I knew what story I wanted to tell. Getting up at 4 a.m. to surf at sunrise at Cocoa Beach Pier. But how was I going to tell a story through video which relies on light when the entire narrative is based on when it's dark?
So I don't know which one would look better with the camera angle and the lighting situation.
I had to think about it completely differently than I do every other morning. You see, when I wake up to actually go surfing, that's what I'm thinking about. You know, I'm thinking about breakfast. I'm thinking about getting in my car. I'm thinking about the songs I'm going to pick while I'm driving on the way to surf. I'm thinking about the waves, what it's going to be like, because I don't know yet because it's dark. You can't check the cams when it's dark out and you can't even see the water yet. So that brought me to my next problem. How was I going to film myself, my journey in the morning to go surf in 2.5 hours and still make it back in time for work? So what I actually ended up doing was I filmed it over the course of 5 different days, and I edited it to make it look like it was one single morning. I knew there was no possible way I was going to get all the shots that I wanted in that amount of time in one single morning. But I also knew that if I wanted to do it right, I had to match everything up perfectly. I had to be wearing the same rings. There was one morning I filmed and forgot to put my rings back on. I had to be wearing the same sweatshirt. I had to have my hair look the same. And because I actually filmed this 5 different days over the course of 3 different weeks, I shaved my mustache completely off, totally forgot about the video. Just got sick of it, it got too long, and then I realized, oh crap, I just shot this entire intro scene, and tomorrow morning I'm gonna go sit down in front of the camera real close and speak. That actually ended up being something that wasn't even really noticeable, thank goodness. They're called continuity errors, but those are the type of things that you have to think about while you're filming. I could sit and talk to you guys all day, but I think what would help both of us a little bit more was if we ran through the video step by step, edit by edit, and actually talked about it that way. So let's do that.
I don't have a thing, you know? You know how some people have a thing? The thing that they pour 110% of themselves into? The thing that they would give up absolutely anything else in their life for? The thing that makes them tick? That makes them feel alive? The thing that no matter what else happens in their life, it would always be something that they're pursuing? Yeah, that thing. I don't have that. But surfing? It's come pretty damn close.
I was actually really stoked on this, and it doesn't really mean too much to anybody else, but I grew up in Connecticut and now I'm living in Florida, so I spent a lot of time in New York City. And for me, this really establishes like that I'm in a completely different phase of my life, very far removed from New York City. I'm 1,097 miles away from New York. And it also, in a way, it sets the scene in a very subtle way. What I did in this intro too, I started out very far away from the pier, and it's blurry. It's focused on the reeds moving back and forth, and then it shifts focus to the pier. Yeah. That was entirely intentional. You start off blurry, far away. The next shot, a little bit closer. Next shot is actually underneath the pier. And so what I'm doing is I'm developing a relationship between the viewer and the pier. I'm not jumping right into the pier, right underneath it right away. I'm creating trust, and I'm almost creating the pier as a character in my story. What happened here was I had shot myself waking up, coming out of my bedroom, walking into the bathroom, splashing water on my face, brushing my teeth, And then I cut to this scene of me opening the fridge. But I realized it doesn't actually matter. I could set the scene later on that it's dark out when I'm opening the door for my surfboard, and really it was just showing the audience that I was waking up. It didn't add anything to my story. And so eventually I finally cut it out of the video. Originally, I was planning to go all out with this scene.
Coffee, eggs, creamer, milk, whatever. And then I'm gonna go like this. Or snap. And then
I just realized cooking breakfast isn't what matters. It matters as a part of the story, but if I lingered on it too long, the audience would just get tired of it, and really I would lose a lot of people. And I'd even lose myself. I watched it back and I was like, this is just, it's not a good idea. It's not. Another interesting thing here is, if I zoom in, this sizzle of the eggs on the pan, that was actually added in after the fact. When I went to pour the eggs into the pan wasn't hot enough to make a sizzle sound yet, and I poured them in and there was no sound. That's what I needed. That's what I wanted to really make it engaging and really emphasize this breakfast scene. And thankfully I was able to Foley that in later. And I poured water into a really, really hot pan with holding my phone next to it. And then I just took that sound and placed it in the video at the exact moment, and it sounded like as if the eggs were sizzling when they hit the pan. But I took like half an hour to clean the kitchen and make it what it is, and like move stuff around so it would look better in the frame. And it's very, very quick, and you might not notice it consciously, but had all of that stuff been in the video, you would have noticed it like subconsciously, and your brain would have thought like, wow, that's a really cluttered image. Again, these are all the things that you have to think about as a filmmaker that you normally wouldn't have any idea of. When I poured the coffee into the cup and I scraped the eggs out of the pan, you couldn't hear it from the camera. The camera was so far off and the mic was so far away that there was just no sound coming from either of those actions. And again, the same thing, what I had to do is I had to take that pan and have my phone recording, and I had to scrape the pan with the spatula after the fact and then put that sound into the video at the right moment. Let's see, not much to say about packing up my surfboard. The amount of time that it really takes me to actually load up my surfboard into the car is probably about 5 minutes. I sped it up at it was like 5,000% the speed, so I was like zooming all over the place, and I cut it down to like, I don't know, maybe it was like 30 seconds. And even that was just like super, super long to watch me place my surfboard into my car. It's crucial to have that scene in the video, but it's not crucial to have the entire thing, everything that I was holding on to in my first cut. It doesn't matter.
It's like going on a blind date. You don't know what you're getting into. It might be terrible, but once you're there, you're gonna make the most of it.
A lot of my video I had planned out in the notes in my phone, or like I said, I had a script, so I had a general idea of what I wanted to say or do. That was literally just spur of the moment. I set up my camera and I was just gonna film myself getting into the car, starting it up and driving away. And for whatever reason, I decided to compare surfing at sunrise to going on a blind date. And I think it's hilarious because in the moment I didn't even know I was going to say that. I don't know. I thought it was funny, so I left it in. I thought it was good. A little detail here, what I did with the sound design, I did an L cut, which basically means the sound extends further than the actual video, and that's helps with the transition to the next scene. And it actually worked really well because I was in my car and the next scene was cars driving by. And so to kind of help you move to the next scene, if you listen closely, you can hear the revving of the engine from the first scene passing into the next scene, and then I have the sound of the cars going by, and those kind of overlap, and it all just kind of comes together really clean. So we're gonna watch that again really quick. Listen for the rev of the engine passing into the second scene.
184. So I'm sitting in the parking lot of a Winn-Dixie.
Okay, I do this whole monologue about how I bought my surfboard and how this all came to be. Easily half an hour. I recorded it so many freaking times. I just kept like stuttering over myself, and I was overthinking it, and I was like, oh, like I have to say it perfectly, but then, you know, there's just a certain way that you end up speaking. Like I am right now. I was gonna try to script this out and totally did not work, so I just kind of fall back on my natural way of speaking. And that's what happened in here. I just was so up in my head about it. Eventually, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to get this done, if I'm actually going to get to the freaking beach today, I need to just be natural, be myself, and just say what I'm going to say, and then I can cut it later, and it'll all work out. I tried kind of talking to the camera while I was driving, and then I watched it back, and with the way that my car passes underneath the streetlights and the shadows just like go by, and then it just did not work. And what I said didn't really matter to the video, but this was a fun little dancing scene. Like I had finished talking, so I just turned the music back up and let the camera record. A lot of what I include in my video is just like the part that isn't scripted, the part that isn't planned, and usually that is what ends up making the better part of my video.
Two things happen in the morning: first light and sunrise.
I've recorded that twice. Once because I thought I was recording it well, and then the second time because I realized that my mic got unplugged and it sounded horrendous. In-camera audio is just so bad. I just got lucky in the sense that there was this like really big spotlight underneath this area where you normally get food, and that was pretty much the only source of light at the pier other than down on the beach. And it was just a matter of finding like the spots of where can I film myself when it's nighttime.
So it's time to get ready.
When I surf, there's nobody else with me, like that I know. So I have to keep my key in my pocket. And that was one of the details that I didn't think really would matter. But I filmed it anyways. And I realized in the edit that like it actually is a really important piece of this story because it's something I think about every single time. There was a time where I brought my electronic key and I got lucky enough to where my brother came with me, so I left it in his car. But I bring a valet key, which is basically just a piece of like a metal key with a rubber handle and no electronics. It's just a small little detail that is part of my story of surfing, and like one of those things that I had to learn the hard way. So what's interesting about this image, there was a lot of people on the beach that day. So just out of frame, right to the right, there is like people lining the beaches, like just so many people. And so I actually had to set up the tripod and frame it so that it was facing away from the water. Originally, I wanted to be like right on the water's edge where I normally am preparing. But I had to make it look like this was during the weekday and early in the morning, and that would not have conveyed properly had you seen the whole beach strewn with people. Because normally, like when I am out there at 6 a.m. by the time I get to the beach, there's nobody there. Maybe like one or two people, a couple of surfers in the water, but not the amount of people that were there when I filmed this. And there's a moment I had to refilm something because people, like a group of people, walked by behind me in frame, and I took some time to really nail that down. Geez, where do I even begin? So this was my last day of filming as far as like building the narrative goes. Up until this point, I had tried to go multiple times, and one day my tire blew out going down the highway, so didn't make it to the beach that day. Another day, the ocean was like completely flat, like no waves in sight at all. And I had a deadline for this video. I was submitting it to a contest, and I filmed this the day before the deadline. And it was literally like, I either go out and get surfing footage today, or this video does not happen and I can't submit it to the contest. So it was really like, I'm just going out and whatever happens, happens. Mind you, this was a separate day from the morning getting ready montage. What happened this day was there was a storm out over the ocean, and it was kicking up these just perfect waves, like the best waves I have ever surfed at this location. Usually the waves are probably about 1 to 2 feet, sometimes 3 if you're lucky, and they're like kind of not a good break. They're choppy usually. They're usually closing out, but these waves were easily 5 to 6 feet, breaking way further out, so you could get like a super long ride down into the beach. And basically the whole point is just, it was like the most perfect waves, the most perfect day I possibly could have had for filming. Also, I had never filmed on a surfboard with my GoPro before, and so a couple days prior I had just stuck it on my board. I just picked a spot in the middle towards the nose, and I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. And when I went out, I had no idea what the footage was gonna look like. I didn't know what the angle was gonna look like. I didn't even know if it would show like my full body or if it would cut off my head. And so there was a lot of I don't want to say mystery, but a lot of unknown going into this last piece of footage that I needed. Yeah, I ended up getting super lucky. This freaking shot, what you don't see is me screaming into the GoPro.
So perfect!
I was looking down the beach and I saw this Coast Guard helicopter flying perfectly with the beach. And I looked out at the ocean and I saw a wave forming perfectly, and I was in the right spot. And I was like, oh my God, this is gonna happen. This is gonna be the holy grail of surfing shots. I'm going to catch this wave and ride it as the helicopter passes behind me, and I'm going to angle into the wave so that you can see the helicopter continue down the beach and you watch me surfing. And I was like, this is it. This is happening. I'm going to get it. This is going to be the best shot of the entire video. I missed it. I missed the wave. I didn't stand up in time, and the wave just went by and I went nowhere. I was furious. I was fuming. I screamed into the GoPro because I was so mad. I knew it was a once in a lifetime shot. What I didn't know was that I was going to be able to revive it in the edit. We're going to go through this again, and I'm going to show you what I did to make it look like I caught the wave as the helicopter was going by. If you caught it, was I slow-mode the helicopter going by. That was always the plan because it just looks super epic. I shot in 60p so I could slow it down. This helicopter scene and this scene of me standing on the surfboard are two completely different shots. Same general area, same general sky, but totally faked it. That's what you want to, well, that's what I look for in a lot of my filming, is how can I use a natural transition from one scene to the other, and in this case, how can I just save my edit and get the holy grail shot that I actually wanted. So we're gonna watch it one more time and watch how the camera goes underwater and then comes out with me standing up onto the surfboard. 2 different scenes, but seamless. Beautiful. I love that so much. GoPros have terrible audio. At least mine does, because I shoot with a GoPro Hero 3 and it is in a plastic case, and when you're in the water, all you hear is like underwater noises, but water splashing around on the camera. So really there is no usable audio for the GoPro from the GoPro while I was filming. But what I did to, again, kind of immerse the audience in the experience was I Foleyed in some underwater sounds and some ocean sounds to make it seem like you're actually there with me. We're gonna actually bump back to the beginning here. I have sounds of me paddling, which is really just like, I don't know, somebody splashing around in the water. I have sounds of the ocean. I actually Foleyed in the helicopter noise at one point. So if you listen really close, pay attention to the sounds as we go through this. Pay attention to the sound of the waves and the paddling. It's really subtle, but I added it in afterwards, and it really makes all the difference. Can you hear it? So I'm going to play that same exact scene, totally silent, without any sound effects, just the music, and let's see what happens. It's actually almost weird for your brain to watch something without hearing the audio that you think is supposed to go along with it. So had I not added that audio in, it almost would have disconnected you guys from the video and from me as I was filming it, because there's just that gap where you're expecting to hear something and you're not. So again, that was all done in post-production, added in afterwards. Usually what I do is I get sound effects and music from YouTube Audio Library, but I decided that if I was going to do this, I wanted to do it right. This was like a really important story to me. So I wanted to do it the best I can. I actually got a 30-day free subscription to 30-day trial to Epidemic Sound. And they have way better music, way better sound effects, a way bigger library, and it just completely helped me bring this video together. That transition was something that I had never done before and didn't plan on doing until I got to the edit. And I actually keyframed in a mask frame by frame for just a few frames. And if you don't know what that means, that's okay. In order to make this work, I had to pick a clip that would easily be combined with another video. And what I found was this clip where the bubbles were kind of like in the sky. The camera was pointed up, so the sky was the background and it was still underwater, so you could see the bubbles. And I thought, this will be perfect. And what I did was I cut out part of the bedroom scene around the bubbles to fill in the sky. And so what you're actually seeing in this frame is half the scene is the bubbles and underwater, and half the scene is me in my room, and that's where the sky would normally be. I don't want to explain masking or keyframing. You can go look those up and they'll give you a wildly better explanation than I could ever give. But that's what I did here. And so I picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames to mask in me coming into my room. and throwing my sweatshirt on the bed. And yeah, so your brain, when it sees those, it kind of just unconsciously combines the two scenes into one without you even realizing it. And so when you watch it through, you're like, what the hell just happened? Like, how did that, what was that? I saw something, but I don't even know what it was. I bet you had that reaction, because that's what I've had the reaction to every time I've seen a Sam Colder transition, which is basically what I was inspired by. And so another thing I did here was underwater, it's obviously not a clear image because the bubbles are swirling around and stuff. And so I put on a Gaussian blur onto the image of me being in my room. And I also color matched the scene of me in my room to the bubbles and the sky. And so what that means is I basically made them the same color, and then I keyframed the color out. You can watch it right here. You can see the color leaving the frame and actually coming to what it really is. And that all helps, the Gaussian blur, the color, that all helps your mind be tricked into thinking that this is a seamless transition. When in reality, there's a bunch of cuts, there's a bunch of edits, there's a bunch of effects added on. But when you put it all in the pot, stir it together, it just becomes super seamless. And that is kind of what sets you apart from other people, and kind of stuff like that is what I felt made this video better than my last one. And that's what I strive for in every single one. So now that you know the trick behind what I did, let's watch it again and see if you pick up on the things that I mentioned. It's so quick. It's so quick. That same day that I filmed the surfing, I got back home and I filmed that super quick scene. I'm sitting at my dresser in that scene, but I liked that my surfboard was in the background. Here I'm in a different room. This is my real desk, but it has nothing to do with the rest of the video that I had filmed. I angled the camera so that it looked like my dresser was actually my desk, and you can see the surfboard in the background. It's really subtle, but in the beginning I threw my sweatshirt onto the bed, the sweatshirt that I had been wearing in all of those scenes in the morning. Again, just subtle little things that your brain will pick up on, but you won't consciously realize. So that's basically it. Those were the trials and tribulations of making this video. I know it was a long one, but a lot went into it. And yeah, I just thought it'd be cool to break it down for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and see you in the next one.